All right, guys. Hey, it's Jason Vandeveer. If you're new to the channel, I'm the founder of the Goal Crazy Planner. So here on the channel, I'm going to be talking a lot about how to set your goals and hold yourself accountable to achieve them. But also, aside from Goal Crazy, I also own a number of rental properties. I have 10 apartments, so I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to create passive income through real estate investing. And also, I'm going to talk about how to start and grow an online business. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be talking specifically about how I was able to buy my first 4-unit apartment building by the time I was 23 years old. Because I know I have a lot of people who use my planner or follow my content and would like to get into real estate themselves, but they just don't know where to start or what the first couple steps are. So, very first thing that I did that was a game changer that I super recommend to anybody looking to get into real estate is connect with other people who have rental properties. All right, between friends, family, people you know at home, I'm sure there's a few people you know who have rental properties. If you start asking around, you're going to find them. Once you find those people, ask them out to lunch. Start learning what their psychology is, where they have their properties, what they do as far as return on investment, how they find tenants. Just start connecting with people in your area that you can learn a lot from. The great thing about real estate is that there's enough to go around, right? There's tons of rental properties in your area, all over the place. So people are happy to share with you the strategies they use to get their properties and to find good tenants. So when I first started my journey of looking for my rental property, I think when I first started, I was 22 at the time, and I just graduated from college, and I had moved back home after college, and I remember that was a huge life change, right? You're in college, you live in a house with your friends, you have all this freedom, and then I come back home and I'm sharing a room with my younger brother, and it's like, what just happened? So one of my big goals I set for myself was I wanted to own my first rental property within a year of graduating college, and I could live in one of the units and rent out the other ones. Originally, I was looking for a duplex, and I'll tell you why. Later, I ended up getting a quadplex, a 4-unit place. But when I first decided, hey, I want to get this rental property, I started taking people out to lunch, asking how they got started, how they got financing, what type of rent they charge, how their return on investment looks. You know, if I'm looking at a duplex that rents out for $1,000 a side, what's a fair price for that? What are some of the expenses? How do I calculate the numbers and evaluate it? So find some people in your area you can connect with that you can learn from. After you do that, you're going to have to just start walking around properties. You're going to need to tour them, but just start walking around them. I remember I started looking at these properties on Realtor or Zillow or the different apps where you can find properties for rent. And then one weekend I decided I was going to go around them. And I was living at my parents' house at the time because I hadn't moved out yet. So my dad was there and he was like, we should just go look at some rental properties today. So we went and drove by this one I was interested in. And one of the things that I learned right off the bat was you can tell a decent amount about a property just from driving by it or getting out of your car and walking around the perimeter of the property. You can tell what the area is like, if it's the area you want to have a rental property in, what the condition of the property is, if you're going to have to sink a lot of money into it, how much care the landlord takes care of it, right? If the lawn is completely overgrown, if there's paint peeling off the side of it, you have to, a lot of times, the way the outside of the building is also going to reflect the way the inside of the building is. Also, you can look at, I used to be in the car industry, so a lot of times I would look at people's cars that are in the driveway, and you can get an idea based off of their cars, not to try and stereotype people, but if I look down the street and I look at the type of cars that people are driving, you can get a general idea of the type of income and credit people in those areas have, right? If everybody's driving a 15-year-old beater car, it tells you about the type of people that live in that area versus if it looks like most everybody has a car that's under 5 years old and is well maintained, again, it tells you something different about that type of area. So we started walking around these properties, and pretty quickly I was able to tell out of the properties I was looking at online which ones I actually cared to tour and which ones I knew weren't going to be what I was looking for. All right, so first step is going to be meet with people in your area. The second step is going to be start touring properties and start identifying where you want, start walking around properties, but start identifying where in your city do you want to have a rental property. And you also need to start to think about what type of people do you want to be renting to, right? Do you want to be working with, do you want to have apartments that are high ticket, expensive apartments and work with those type of clientele? Or do you want people who, more of a cheaper apartment, low income people who live in those units? There's nothing wrong with either. Generally, if you're gonna be in an area that has lower rents, older buildings, lower rents, maybe a rougher part of town, typically you can get a better return on your money. All right. I know people in my area where in some of the rougher areas, you can buy a house for $30,000 and rent it out for $750 a month. So you're gonna have your money back in 5 years, right? Now, if you're gonna be in the higher class areas, you're not gonna be able to get the same return on investment. You're gonna be looking at newer buildings, you're gonna be looking at higher rents. So with that, there's a little more stability and safety with your investment in that asset because it's a newer asset. However, your return on your investment isn't going to be quite as high. For me, I aim somewhere in the middle, more towards the end of higher rent apartments, but not your super premium luxury apartments. So start meeting with people, start walking around properties, get an idea of the different areas. Then you just need to start scheduling tours with properties. After I started walking around these properties, that first weekend, me and my dad probably drove around. I started pulling tons of them up on the MLM. We might have walked around 8 different properties.